Hello Booktube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for Friday Reads. First of all, I want to start with my Booktuber Shoutout. This week I want to shout out Gabrielle from Frumious Reads. Gabrielle's been commenting on my channel for quite a while. I totally didn't realise that she had a channel herself, and it's really good, and I've loved checking out her videos recently. She's doing a challenge for herself to read a book a day for the year, and so far she's doing it and I am totally impressed. So that's really fun to watch and to hear the roundup of the books that she's read each week. So go check her out. I think if you like my channel, you'll like hers. She reads very similar books and she's great, and I definitely think she deserves more subscribers. So check Gabrielle from Frumious Reads out. So the first book that I finished this week was The Desert Spear by Peter V. Brett. I've unfortunately taken this back to the library, so I haven't got a cover to show you. This is the second book in the Painted Man series. The first book I absolutely loved and gave 5 stars, and then the second book was equally as good. As always with these books, for some reason, I'm always put off reading them. I'm daunted by the size and the fact that they're sort of fantasy. I don't know why, I've just got some sort of hang up in my head about this. Even though I read The Painted Man, it was one of my favourite books of last year and I gave it 5 stars, I still struggled to just get to that point where I picked up The Desert Spear. I was like, oh, I'll read that in a bit. Oh no, I'll read that in a few days. And once I picked it up, I was just so happy to be back in the world. It's such a good world. It's really well thought out. It's such an interesting and fun story. It's full of action and really great characters who are getting to know more and more as the series progresses. And I definitely recommend this series. It's brilliant. I'll tell you very briefly about The Painted Man in case you haven't heard me talk about it. It's basically set in a world where when the sun goes down, these demons rise from the ground and kill people, and there's lots of different types of demons, and so the people have to use these special ward symbols to keep their houses and livestock and farms safe. And so people really are sort of stuck in the evening, and sometimes those wards break or they're not strong enough, and so the demons get in and kill people quite regularly. And this, we're following a number of different characters in their quest to try and fight back against these demons and learn more about them and find ways to destroy them. And it's just really great. We've followed 3 of the characters from when they were young, sort of children, and they're now grown-ups. And we've also followed a couple of other characters who we're sort of following their stories in the new book, and I'm really looking forward to the 3rd book, which I'm also going to be trying to read this month. So it'll be no surprise that I gave this one 5 stars. The next book I picked up was A Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This is a book that's written in free verse, so poetry. It's a memoir. I was really nervous going into this. I've never really felt like poetry's my thing. I've never really gotten into poetry, so I really wasn't sure how I was going to find this, but I had picked it up because I'm taking part in the Pop Sugar challenge for 2016, and one of the challenges this fulfilled, which I'll be talking about in my wrap up for the end of January. However, I was really surprised at how vividly the words in this conjured pictures and created the story. She uses you know, minimal number of words to tell the story, and yet I felt it was as vivid and evocative as any novel that I'd read. I really would recommend picking this up if you haven't tried it before, or if you've never thought that poetry is your thing. It's the story of Jacqueline growing up in the 60s and 70s in the South and New York, and it's well worth the read. I really enjoyed it and I gave this one 4 stars. Next up is a book that was sent to me from the publishers for review, and that is Movers by Megan McIsaac, I think, and obviously all thoughts and feelings on this book are my own. This book is set in a future world or a future time where some people have the ability to move people from another time. These people from the other time are called shadows, and the world has become overpopulated and is struggling and overcrowded because these movers are bringing people across their shadows from another time. It's illegal to move your shadow, and our main protagonist Patrick, his father is in jail, or he's been shelved, which means they sort of put them to sleep or in sort of stasis forever, because he did this when Patrick was a baby. And now a catastrophic event at Patrick's school has meant that Patrick is on the run, and we're just finding out a bit more about this world, about what is actually going on, about Patrick and his family, and it's really fun and fast paced. I really enjoyed this story. It was definitely action packed, as a lot of sort of YA books in this genre are. There was just something lacking for me, and I'm not sure what it was. I just didn't have any sort of investment in the characters. It was just missing that little oomph. So I did enjoy it. It was fast paced. It was a quick, fun read, but I could only give it 3 stars because it just missed that sort of something that pulls me in and makes me really care about the characters. So a good, solid 3-star read. The next book I read was The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I've got a feeling this may very well be my first foray into Toni Morrison, and I really enjoyed it. It's Toni Morrison's first novel, and it's set in her hometown of Ohio. It is a story about a young 11-year-old girl called Pekala Breedlove, who dreams and prays to have blue eyes like the blue-eyed, blonde-haired girls in America. It's set in the autumn of 1941 when something tragic happens to Pekala. I enjoyed the writing in this. I found it very evocative and a readable story. I liked the way it was set over the 4 seasons. We had winter, spring, summer and autumn, which really moved the story forward. And it's narrated by a neighbourhood girl and her sister, so we're seeing it from an outside perspective. It really touched on race and identity and family, and I just thought it was a really interesting read. It didn't, again, give me the same feelings that I think perhaps a lot of people have had from this. I enjoyed it, but I didn't feel that emotional connection that I was looking for, and so I gave this one 3 stars. Next up, I want to talk very briefly about a book that I DNF'd this week. I do DNF books not very often, but sometimes I DNF them and I just say no, that's it, it's not for me. Sometimes I DNF them for now and put them back on my shelf because it might just not be the right time for me to read it, and I think I'm still going to enjoy it, but perhaps I'm just not in the right mood. But this one's definitely a DNF, just not for me. I was doing a buddy read with Patty from I Smell Books, and we were reading Dune by Frank Herbert. I got 100 pages into this one and it's just not for me. The story just didn't gel for me. I know when a book isn't working for me because every time I pick it up, which is a feat in itself because I just always want to be doing something else, it makes me very slumpy, and when I do pick it up I can only get through a couple of pages before I start to fall asleep, and that is generally a sign for me that I'm just not feeling it, and this one just wasn't for me. I know a lot of people love this book. I just found it a bit slow, a bit confusing. There was a little bit too much going on. The writing style just wasn't for me, and so unfortunately I had to put this one down. However, I think Patty quite enjoyed it, so it just goes to show it just depends, and this one just wasn't for me. And then finally I want to talk about 3 comics and graphic novels that I read. The first one is volume 4, or issue 4, sorry, of I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. I love this series. I queued outside my comic book shop for it to open on the day of its release so that I could pick it up. The story is brilliant. Let's see if I can find some artwork for you. I love the artwork in it. If you haven't heard me rave about this already, it's the story of Gertrude, who gets sucked into Fairyland, and her only way out of Fairyland is to follow a quest to get a key to let her out. Unfortunately, she finds this really hard and has been there years and years and years, still in a little girl's body, but she's got the mind and spirit of a grown-up. It is violent, it is gory, it is she's foul, Gertrude, foul language, foul manners, foul everything, but it's hilarious and I love it, and I'm really enjoying reading this, and I've now put it on hold at my comic book shop so that I can be guaranteed I get every issue, and I gave this one 5 stars. And then next up I read volumes 1 and 2 of Fairy Quest. So volume 1 is Fairy Quest Outlaws and volume 2 is Fairy Quest Outcasts. I really enjoyed this. Let me find some pages just to give you an idea of the artwork. It's the story of fairy tale characters who are in this world which is run like clockwork by this Mr. Grimm. He tells them what to do. They have to just do their stories over and over again, and a number of the characters are getting bored, don't want to be the people that they are told they have to be and be perceived by, and one of these is Red Riding Hood. She doesn't want to fight the wolf. She likes him, he's her friend, and so they decide to try and escape, and the story is all about their expedition and running away from Mr. Grimm and his henchmen so that they don't get their memories wiped, to try and escape from Fairyland, and it's really good fun, and I gave both of these 4 stars. So that's the books that I read this week. The books that I'm looking to read next week, there's 3 books I definitely want to read. The first one I'm halfway through and it's called After the Crash by Michelle Boussy. This was given to me by my daughter's headmistress at her preschool. She knows that I have a booktube channel. She really enjoys books too. I've passed on some books to her over Christmas and she read this one. She said she gobbled it up over a weekend. She really enjoyed it, and so I thought I'd give it a go, and so far I'm really enjoying it. It's a translation, I believe, from he's a French author. It's a thriller, sort of mystery. The story is about a plane that crashes and all the passengers are killed apart from one 3-month-old baby. However, there was meant to be 2 babies on this flight. It's impossible for them to determine whose baby it is, and so the grandparents of the child go through trying to work out whose child this is, and we're sort of following the story behind the crash and a private investigator who's been researching to try and find out who this girl actually was. The girl is now 18 and we're just following the story of the crash and what happened afterwards, and it's sort of unravelling slowly, and I'm really enjoying it, so I'll let you know next week how I get on with this one. I'm continuing my buddy reading with the lovely Nicole from Dorker Brain, and we're going to be reading the 3rd book in the Discovery of Witches trilogy, which is the Book of Life, in the All Souls trilogy, which is the Book of Life by Deborah Harkness, and we're going to be reading this one this week. It's a whopper, so yay us. And then the final book, I'm also doing another buddy read with a couple of booktubers, and we are reading The Daylight War by Peter B. Brett, which is the 3rd book in the Painted Man trilogy, Painted Man series. So I'm looking forward to this one, which is also a chunker. So I think I'll be splitting those up into 100 pages a day chunks, but I can't wait to read all of them. Let me know what you've been reading this week, what you've been enjoying. Have you read any of these? And I look forward to speaking to you soon. And don't forget to go and check out Gabrielle at Frumious Reads. She'll be linked down below. Bye for now, BookTube.